Okay, so on Friday, we started off with what material requirements are there for currently in the different transport systems. Unfortunately, we seem to get sort of sidetracked into a lot of automotive stuff, but eventually we moved across into some of the others. But I suspect that we haven't covered everything that we should have done in sort of the boats and planes and trucks and trains bits, but we covered a lot from automotive. Essentially, if you look at the outputs from that, we have a lot of different metals. We have obviously aluminium, a little of aluminium, a lot in aircraft and a little bit in boats, and a smaller amount in automotive. A lot of steel in automotive, and then we have nickel-based superalloys for things like aero engines. A lot of composites. Mainly in the aircraft sector. And then we have other areas such as rare earths, copper for electric vehicles, and obviously aerospace fly-by-wire, aircraft fly-by-wire stuff, and then continuous supplies of things like lithium, cobalt, nickel, manganese for high-density batteries. We then looked, so covering a lot of the metals side, I would suggest that what we didn't look at and cover very well were some of the non-metallics that might exist in transport systems. That might be something we should probably address today. We then looked at some barriers, and which would help, or sorry, some things that would help us move towards our vision for 2050. What we found difficult was actually finding what potentially would be in the requirements for 2050. Looking forward to saying these are requirements for 2050 was very, very difficult. So we think that we've got the same sort of materials in 2050, but perhaps more of the stuff that might go into electric vehicles. We felt that there needed to be a balanced agenda. We also looked at the fact that we needed to do something on LCA and reduce carbon. So whatever we do, we need to have reduced carbon. That maybe transport modes would also change as well. In the end, we got to, we had some things that might slow the progress, but we eventually got to defining 6 challenges. One was the lack of legislation in a blocker in industry, which would not help solve the circular economy. Another one was LCA is not implemented in the design phase. Another challenge was that clean energy needs to be used for extraction and manufacturing. A fourth was standards that prohibit progression. Effective recycling was another challenge. And the last one was materials passporting.